As I'm sure you might have noticed, there have been an extraordinary amount of limited edition football boot releases as of late. And inside this box, I have yet another pair that is stunning both in terms of looks as well as its price tag. And of course, I'm talking about the Pharrell Human Race Adidas Predator 20 Plus, which of course features a painted design to look like the 1998 Predator Accelerator. They're absolutely gorgeous, but do bear a retail price of $330, which is $55 more than a regular colorway of the Predator 20 Plus. So while the price tag might be unreasonable, the boots are absolutely gorgeous, and in my opinion, easily the best colorway of the Predator 20 so far. Nonetheless, I want to take a closer look at some of the more subtle details that you find on these boots, and also talk about what's next for the Predator series, because we've already seen players like Paul Pogba training in what is likely to be the Predator 21 Plus. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about what looks to be changing, what I think needs to be changed, and of course how the boots fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire review. And if you are interested in a pair of these limited edition boots for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $330 retail price. Also, if you guys do end up enjoying this video and want to see more reviews on limited edition football boots, make sure you support this one with a like. And if you are new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on weekly content on everything football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now, as for the boots themselves, specifically the colorway, obviously Adidas loves doing classic Predator remakes, but they also like doing classic Predator colorway remakes, which is basically what this is. And if you're familiar with your Adidas Predator history, you immediately recognize these three swoopy stripes on either side of the football boot as the design taken from the 1998 Predator Accelerator, which I personally think is a phenomenal looking football boot, maybe a little bit chunky by today's standards, but in paintbrush form, as seen here on the Predator 20 Plus, it's pretty impressive to me how sleek this design still looks, basically 22 years later. And of course, this is a collaboration with Pharrell Williams and the Human Race line that he has with the Adidas brand, which quite frankly, you would have no idea that these have anything to do with Pharrell unless they put this small Human Race triangle logo here on the lateral side, and of course wrote Human Race along the back of the collar, which the font really reminds me of the Hummer logo. Of course, up close, you get to see the detail of the paint stroke design that you have for the Adidas stripes, as well as the black, red, and gray base that you find throughout the entire upper. And then, of course, with the rubber spikes, the demon skin spikes scattered over top of everything, it actually mimics the design of the Predator Accelerator and the small rubber, I guess, grips that you have scattered throughout the entire boot really, really well, and it makes it look that much more like an actual Predator Accelerator. Of course, across the top of the foot, where you do have the laceless system, the exposed knit material is kind of like a reddish maroon color. I think that's one of the main variants that you're gonna find from the OG, is that it's a little bit more of a burgundy maroon than a true Predator red, although Predator red has changed a little bit from model to model over the years. Nonetheless, it does look very premium and quite expensive, which of course is reflected in the price. And then you have two different color stud plates, the heel being black in color, and then the one in the forefoot being translucent red plastic. I do like the fact that it's a non-wearable finish, it's just the color of the plastic. And as always, I'm curious to hear your opinions on the way that these look, but if you're asking for mine, out of all of the retro colorway slash design remakes that we've seen on modern football boots, this is one of the best ones ever. They just look phenomenal. So first things first, you can clearly see that the boots Pogba is wearing are laceless, and that laceless system is made up of what looks to be an elasticated prime knit, which is very similar to what we have on the current Predator. That prime knit material eventually flowing into what looks to be a mid-cut collar that may or may not be cut a little bit lower than the current Pred 20 Plus, but that's very difficult to judge based on these pictures. The one significant difference you'll notice though is that instead of having the laceless system kind of run directly across the middle of the foot, as it is on the Pred 20 Plus, it's kind of slightly shifted towards the lateral side, almost to create this off-center design, which once upon a time, when the Predator series and the T90 series was a thing and power boots were extremely popular, you had lots of football boots with off-centered lacing systems to give you a cleaner striking surface for what was typically a rubber striking element, which we technically now have back with the demon skin spikes on the Predator, which are still clearly on the next generation. So you have a little bit of a larger surface to strike the ball with, free of any kind of obstruction. You don't really have obstruction with a laceless system anyways, but you do end up with more rubber in that area, which hopefully for striking the ball just allows for that much more grip and that much more of a cleaner contact. The issue is, and something that I'm a little bit worried about, is whenever you move the structure system to the lateral side, it puts that much more importance on the general shape of the football boot, where if there's a little bit too much width, if there's a little bit too much volume, the fit's just never gonna be right. And obviously with the laceless system, you lose out on that adjustability factor. And given that this material already, I think is kind of on the thin side, it's a little bit lacking in tension, at least for my liking. I'm curious to see how these new Preds are going to fit, given that they've shifted the laceless system to the lateral side, something that we've never really seen Adidas do before. As for the upper around the laceless system, you can very clearly still see that there are rubber demon skin spikes scattered pretty much everywhere, although this time around they're definitely more spaced out than what we currently have on the Predator 20 Plus, and of course they run a little bit higher up the striking area on your foot because of the way they shifted that laceless system. I don't expect the grip levels to really be that much different. If anything, because they're more spaced out, I'm assuming there might be a little bit less grip, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing because these are extremely grippy on the ball and certainly not for everybody for that reason. But it looks like the general sensation of added grip on the ball is something that they are definitely going to maintain with the next generation, which I like because that's really what makes the current Predator 20 generation, whether you buy the Plus, the .1, or even the .2 model, unique from pretty much every other football boot out there right now. The other thing to note is the upper itself. What's it made out of? Because we have seen with the Dragon variation of the Predator 20 Plus, a kangaroo leather fusion skin upper, I always forget the name of that, which feels absolutely fantastic. However, we only got it one time on a super limited, super expensive variation of the Pred 20 Plus. Could that potentially be on the Predator 21 Plus? I hope so. Hard to tell from pictures because they are of course fully blacked out. But as far as this upper is concerned, it is technically a knit, although it does feel more like a thin textile, almost like a synthetic, to be honest with you. There's not really much softness to this upper. It's not really that flexible, and it's not that it's bad in any way, but there's definitely room for improvement here. I personally could do with a little bit more, I don't want to say softness, but more so pliability. I would like the upper to move a little bit more naturally with my feet, where I think that this upper kind of ends up feeling a little bit on the rigid side in comparison to some of the more premium, I guess, other options that you have in the knit/textile football boot upper category. So I'd love to see a leather variation. We'll see if that ends up happening. I would also love to see a slightly improved variation of this upper, maybe something a little bit more along the lines of the Pred 19 or 18 generations. I really like those uppers, but again, until we actually have the boots to try out, it's really difficult to say. But seriously, Adidas, if you're watching this, if you make a low-cut laced variation of the next generation Predator with a leather upper, I'm pretty confident you'll sell tons of them. And then as far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, we don't have any great looks at that, and the boots are all blacked out anyways, but if history is anything to go off of, then we're probably gonna see the exact same tooling with this split sole setup on the next generation Predator. Adidas typically runs for 2 generations with their sole plates, and given that this was all new for this boot, I expect it to remain the same for the next generation, which is fine. It's got good flexibility. I could definitely do with a slightly more aggressive stud pattern, but by Adidas standards, given that they seem to like to put the exact same layout on every single model they make, this definitely gets the job done. And then to answer the big question, when will the next generation of Predator actually come out? We're obviously starting to see pros training in the next generation prototypes at this point. And if I had to guess, I'm gonna bet on January because I think that Nike might release the next generation Mercurial in January, and given that all of the brands like to kind of respond to what the other big brands are doing, if Nike releases a new Mercurial in January, I would expect Adidas to do the same with the new Predator and try to steal away at least some of the hype. That is, of course, if we make it to January, because 2020 has been something else. So as you can see, on feet, the boots look absolutely incredible, especially paired with some black Pure Grip socks, which is my own brand of grip socks that are the most affordable grip socks on the market at just $14.99 a pair. They're available now in black, obviously, as well as 8 other colors at puregripsocks.com. If you're on the market for a pair of grip socks, which I think are absolutely beneficial, especially if you wear laceless boots. It makes the lockdown and general comfort, I think, that much better. Definitely go and check it out. There'll be a link down below in the description, or again, you can visit puregripsocks.com. Now, looks aside, the Predator 20 Plus from a lockdown perspective, in my opinion, isn't the greatest. Again, the primate material across the top of the foot is a lot thinner than I think it should be, and it's just maybe a little bit lacking in structure. It just stretches too easily. So when you bend your foot, it stretches upwards and it just increases the volume inside the boot. So unless you are somebody that just likes laceless football boots and you don't need them to be super tight, you'd probably prefer the 0.1 variations of this boot with the lacing system, where the lockdown and general fit, I would argue, is just better overall. When it comes to width and overall fit, Adidas did something a little bit weird with the latest Predator, where they tried to revert the shape back to classic Predator models, where it's a little bit roomier in terms of width and volume through the forefoot and toe box area, but then it kind of tapers and pinches a little bit through the midfoot, where it fits significantly tighter. It's not as noticeable with the laceless model because there's just not as much tension through the midfoot due to the laceless system, but you'll definitely notice that it's tighter here than it is here and here, which may be a good or bad thing depending on the specific shape of your foot. If you have super wide feet, I don't think that the Predator in general is necessarily going to be the best option, especially if you're slightly flat-footed like myself. You might run into some issues with some foot cramping for the first couple of wears, especially if that's something that you're a little bit sensitive to. So through the midfoot especially, the boots are definitely not very wide. And speaking to the 20 Plus laceless model in general, because the collar is so high and because of the laceless system, the opening to actually get your foot in isn't the biggest. So if you had really wide, kind of high volume feet, while I think you would be able to fit in these boots once you got your feet in them, actually getting your feet in them could be a bit of a struggle, so something to keep in mind. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these limited edition boots for yourself, as long as they're still available, there will be links via the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. If you aren't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.